Hey guys, I just finished watching the episode Werepapas. I cried. I don't think a Miraculous episode has ever done that to me other than the season 4 finale. This was so emotional, so good. I loved the flashbacks that we got throughout this episode, and I have a lot of thoughts on it that I want to share with you guys, so let's get into it. This episode introduced to us Adrian's grandparents from both his mom and dad's side, Emily's parents being Emil and Millie, and Gabriel's parents being Gabriella and Johnny. Putting these two next to each other are total opposites, and at the beginning of the episode, we get a flashback of Emily talking to baby Adrian about where his grandparents are as he asks, "Will I get to see them? Where are they?" Which is when Emily reveals to Adrian at such a young age that there are things her father and mother love more than her.
Don't.
Which is why Adrian nor Emily ever see them. And that's when Adrian asks her, "Does that mean Daddy doesn't love me?" He knew from such a young age what was going on. Also, we've known that ever since Adrian was born, Emily's health was quickly declining, and I really like that in this flashback, we can so easily see that. The color in her eyes are almost completely gone, as it's taken all of her life, her being, and energy to create Adrian. And by the end of the episode, our end scene is of Adrian when he's a little older, greeting Gabriel when he comes back from a trip looking for the medicine for his mother, and when Adrian asks if he found it, Gabriel just says no, goes to his room, and Natalie's the one that has to comfort him as Emily watches from above in her wheelchair. This is the first time this season that we're seeing Adrian be so vulnerable and seeing the aftermath of everything, seeing how the mansion has changed where now it's full of life and vibrancy with these plants, but we're also seeing Natalie act different. It was made clear in the London special that Natalie can't see herself being the mother figure that Adrian needs. She could never replace Emily, and that's true. She could never replace his actual mother, but for as long as we've seen, Natalie has been the closest thing Adrian has had to that. So at the beginning of the episode, it made sense to see her reject hugging Adrian back, since she probably doesn't want him to see her in that way. It's then that Natalie gets a phone call from Emily's parents that they want to see Adrian and come over, and not just them, but also Gabriel's parents. They just happen to be ready to finally meet this poor kid. In this episode, we also got to see Marinette's family, which was nice because this is our first time seeing them in the new style, and they're all super excited about Marinette having a boyfriend. They want to meet him. So when Marinette calls Adrian to see if he can come over this weekend, Adrian tells her, "I have something planned." And it's that he's gonna be meeting his grandparents for the first time ever. And he's not excited about it. This is when Marinette decides that she'll come over and act as a waiter so that she can be by Adrian's side during this uncomfortable reunion. And I love seeing this outfit of Marinette's return. And speaking about outfits, did I say that I love Natalie's new look? Because she looks so good. Emily's parents are the first to arrive, making a grand entrance in their private helicopter, their names being Emil and Millie, which is obviously why they named their daughter Emily, while Natalie greets them so respectfully and kindly. The first thing Emil says is, "May I remind you that this estate used to be our pied-à-terre," however it's pronounced, basically saying that this used to be our occasional house here in Paris. We love us some family drama. But that being said, that means that they originally had owned this mansion, but allowed for Emily and Gabriel to live in it. And just wait, because it gets worse.
At least they produced a half-decent looking child.
So already, Adrian has somebody else to remind him of his father, right? Okay. He's never met them before until now, so what a great first interaction. Adrian actually hasn't even spoken at this point. And on top of that, later in the episode, we see that Emil is trying to take custody of Adrian. But before I get too ahead of myself, during this scene is when we see Gabriel's parents show up, Johnny and Gabrielle Grasset. It was revealed last season that Agreste was actually not Gabriel's real last name, and he most likely changed it seeing as he didn't want any of his new identity to be attached with his previous one. His parents are so chill, and if one of them had to take custody over Adrian, obviously Gabriel's parents would be the best choice. So fast forward, throughout this lunch, we continue to see how disrespectful Emil is, not just to Johnny and Gabrielle, but to his own wife Millie, which is when she continuously keeps shoving these treats in that Johnny made, and eventually loses it when Emil and Johnny get into a fight over who's having custody of Adrian, the twin rings being taken back into their side of the family, and for getting into a literal fight. I loved that we got to see Plagg being his silly usual self throughout this episode, and at one point when the rings went missing, I actually thought Plagg would have taken them, but no, he was too busy eating, and eventually Millie gets a hold of the rings, runs out of the room, locks her into Gabriel's old designing room, and gets akumatized. The Akuma going into Adrian's ring. You know, the rings that hold his amok? Yeah, those rings. Now, I actually think this episode would have been a pretty cool opportunity for us to see Cerise or Chrysalis use her prior information about these rings and their potential importance in the family to her advantage. Though I'm not sure if she's actually aware that these hold Adrian's amok. She probably doesn't know, but there is so much that she does know, and I'm just waiting for her to bring that up again and expose everything. This is when Millie turns into Ringmaster and forces Emil and Johnny to become wolves, since the wolf is the Graham de Vanilli family mascot, or the animal that represents their family. And it was so funny to me seeing them apologizing to each other while forcefully fighting. Adrian is also trapped in a trophy in this episode, which, might I say, is in the sky, because both of his grandparents got into the fight of who should get custody over him. And I may be mistaken, but is this the first episode that we got to see Ladybug's transformation in? Because I don't recall actually seeing her do a full transformation in any of the prior episodes we've gotten. It was beautiful. Also, I found it really smart that Adrian actually transformed into Cat Noir just to text Ladybug like, hey, I see that someone got akumatized, on my way, never gonna show up. So that way no one suspects that Adrian was possibly Cat Noir, and these are the extremes that they have to go to. Like, they should have been doing this stuff in previous seasons as well, which sometimes they did, but for the most part they wouldn't. But especially now, because Chrysalis is here, they gotta be doing this. As the fight goes on, Ladybug uses a lucky charm, ends up getting a scarf, and is able to trap the Ringmaster. And I'm just saying, if you still don't believe in the Adrian Sentimonster topic, it's not even a theory anymore, it is confirmed. Then this episode is just another piece of evidence towards it, because tell me why Ladybug would be hesitant, look at the rings, look at the trophy where Adrian is, and be hesitant to break them, if not for knowing that Adrian is a Sentimonster and his amok lays within those rings. Now, here's where I'm confused. I'm gonna use this ring to demonstrate, okay? The ring holds his amok. If the object holding the amok is broken, an amok will come out of it, and with that, the Sentimonster will be destroyed. Their life depends on the object holding their amok being safe and not being broken. When Ladybug goes to break the rings, no amok comes out of it, just an Akuma. So in that moment, we don't know if Adrian actually were to have disappeared since he was inside the trophy, and it wouldn't have necessarily mattered since Ladybug would do her lucky charm and repair anything that went wrong or changed, which is why we see Adrian return. But then it makes you think about last season in the episode Perfection. We see that Kagami gets akumatized by Gabriel. The Akuma goes in the ring that holds her amok, and by the end of the episode, Miss Tsurugi comes charging into Gabriel's room, telling him that he endangered her daughter because Kagami is also a Sentimonster. And the only way they could have really gotten away with that is that Kagami broke out of the akumatization herself. The object didn't need to be broken in order for the Akuma to leave. But in this case, the object was broken. The object was destroyed. Make it make sense. And speaking about Kagami and her akumatization history, if we look back at the first time she got akumatized, the Akuma also went into her ring. So this whole ring situation and being able to hold Akumas but then also being able to be broken really confuses me. And Thomas did go to reply to some people on Twitter about it, but it still makes no sense.
Child. Anyway, so
by the end of the episode, the rings are returned to Adrian by his grandmother Millie, and Marinette not only reveals to all of the grandparents that she is Adrian's girlfriend, but also steps in when it comes to who should get custody over Adrian. She forces Natalie to be a part of this and reminds Natalie that to Adrian, Natalie is a mother figure. And this is the scene that made me tear up and cry. I was like the bodyguard for real. And finally, we see Natalie hug Adrian back. This was just such a satisfying conclusion to this whole custody war over Adrian. And it was also nice to see now Millie stand up for herself, and hopefully her husband will start respecting her more, because I still have issues with him. Millie also goes to expose him by saying that he loves fries because Johnny and Gabrielle own their own restaurant, and it's revealed that Emil loves fries. And the end card of this episode goes to show everyone enjoying them. Again, the end scene was just so emotional, seeing Natalie being the only parent figure that Adrian has to comfort him. And it was also just really impressive to me that we got to see Adrian through so many stages of his life. We've gotten 5 seasons, and the last 5 seasons were supposed to be the Agrest arc, and yet we never got to see this up until now. It's like a reward. But as always, what did you guys think of this episode? Did you also cry or get teary-eyed? I am super excited and curious to see which episode we're gonna be getting next. Originally, it was supposed to be episode 11, Revelator, which was supposed to come out next weekend on the 22nd. We don't know when the episode will air, and I imagine that we'll probably be on a hiatus for a little bit. So as of right now, we don't have any new episodes to look forward to for now. As soon as we do, I will let you guys know here. And if you've made it this far in the video, comment the ring emoji. And as always, be sure to let me know your thoughts and theories down below, and subscribe so you never miss the tea on the show you love. And an extra special thanks to my Celestial Guardian channel members, and I'll see you guys in the next one.